So we all know that there are things that we are not designed to do. Uh, Men are not designed to do some things. Women are not designed to do some things. Specifically, as you can see here, men are not designed to do some things. Um, this is we do chore rotation. So every 6 weeks, it's my turn to do the laundry. And so uh, the funny thing about what you're watching is that I like math, and I think that math solves most problems. I love geometry, and so you would think that in a situation like this, that math, geometry would come in handy. However, as soon as you put elastic into the equation, it completely messes everything up in my head. I can't do it, and it's not just because I'm home now that that this is an issue. As I say, every 6 weeks this comes up. So I do what you're watching every 6 weeks. Now, I have tried every which way, and as you can see, I've tried every which way to accomplish this task, but I fail to do it each and every time. Now, as a logical person, as a person who's figured out how to, I mean, I've made cabinets. They're not the most beautiful things in the world, but I've made them myself, and I've learned how to do them on YouTube, and I've done everything in my house, and I've been able to figure out the math, things I've never done before. But this, I've tried to reverse engineer this. Right? Like I watch Katie do it. So I've tried that. Like she does it, I cannot do it. I've tried to reverse engineer it. So in other words, when we're putting sheets on the bed, I try to, as it unfolds, I'm trying to think. Okay, I've got to do this in reverse order when I'm going to do this. And it's nice. It's perfect. It's square. And I simply can't accomplish this. Now, it doesn't make a difference, ladies, if you're married to an engineer, a rocket scientist. You know certain things are true, and that is that no man can be left near a fitted sheet unless it is simply for the woman's entertainment value. So, let me talk about something that seems completely unconnected, and that's music. I want you to think about your favorite bands, whatever genre you listen to. Think about your favorite. I like older music of various kind, folk music, whatever, harder rock music, whatever the group, the genre. Think of your favorite groups, and eventually, if you like talented groups, someone in there has become a really good talent and decided that they can make it on their own, that they don't need this group. They want to be the focal point, and they want their name on the album instead of a group name on the album. And so they inevitably split up, right? And I want you to think about the groups you like, and I'm hard-pressed to think about individuals that I like better than the group when they were together. Right? I mean, they're okay, but I would much rather listen to Simon and Garfunkel than Paul Simon. I would much rather listen to the Beatles than Paul McCartney. I mean, Paul McCartney's probably single-handedly, when he was on his own, responsible for the most annoying song in the history of pop music, Someone's Knocking on the Door, in my opinion. Stevie Nicks without Fleetwood Mac. I can just go on and on and on. They might be okay, and they might have some okay songs. Phil Collins without Genesis. On and on. I would much rather listen to the group together than when the person went on their own. We're going to kind of tie all this together in just a second. But in Psalms 137, which is not a psalm composed by David, it's actually it's composed much, much, much later. And it's about the time in Babylon. It says, by the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down, and we wept when we remembered Zion. We hung our harps on the willows, and our captors required of us a song. But how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And it's kind of the same idea, where we're kind of in a strange situation, and so many people I just I like to worship God on my own. I like to do my own thing, and well, now we're on our own, and we're having to figure out how to do things on our own. When Paul went to Philippi in Acts chapter 16, there's no synagogue there. It's just actually not a big area. It's a maybe the area of it is a couple size of football fields is what Philippi was. It is not a big, huge metropolis at all. And nearby there's a stream. Maybe it was bigger then, but he says when we went there, we looked for a river because we assumed that there would be a place of prayer there. When there was no synagogue, the people, I don't know if it goes back to Babylon, but they would look for a body of water, and that's what they did for service when there was no church building, as we would call it, no synagogue, no temple. They would go by a body of water and and at least pray. And we're kind of in a similar situation where we can't meet together. And a lot of people there's a lot of people talk about, well, I just like to worship God in the woods and do all these things on my own. And now we're in a situation where we have to be on our own. And I think what most of us now realize is, if we didn't already, that worship on our own is not ideal, and it's impossible to replace. The word church means a called out assembly. You can't take the concept of an assembly out of church. God designed a group. God designed us for togetherness. And nothing, whether it was a river in Babylon or whether it's the internet that we're trying to do this with, nothing is a replacement. Nothing is suitable. Nothing is acceptable, really, for the group. God designed us to be together because there are things that I'm not good at on my own. And God has built us together to supply the various things. The things that I can't do, other people are good at. And the things that others might not be good at, I might be good at. And all these things have to come together. And it's impossible to really make them work together perfectly unless we do assemble. So the importance of the assembly is something to think about.